options and move into the Gulf resort. That's what's driving some of this. They're not taking the long-term view and the national view, the American, of maintaining the American strength.
Well, I was talking with one money manager the other day, and he said, look, Maria, I'm not going to call good guys and bad guys. It's not my role to call out good guys and bad guys. So, yeah, the growth is in China, and that's where I want to invest.
Well, you know what? We're not speaking German today because the American business in the past didn't think that way. They stood with the United States. And all the privileges and the benefits and the stability and the rule of law and the ability to profit as they do, both as companies and individuals, comes from the strength of this country.
So should it be a law that if you are working under a grant, a United States grant at a university, you're not allowed to take money from the Chinese Communist Party?
We are clearly cracking down on researchers and others that are sent over here to get involved in our key technological programs. And by the way, this is not just weapon systems. This is agriculture. This is medicine. This is robotics. This is artificial intelligence and so forth. It's the whole gamut of important technologies going forward.
So are they seeking out people like the chairman of the chemistry department at Harvard to try to get those people to work with them? Are they seeking people out?
The Chinese efforts run the gamut from more traditional espionage of recruiting people to work for them explicitly to cultivating relationships that they're then able to use. And the people frequently are not completely attuned to the fact that they are being used as essentially stooges for the Chinese. So it runs the gamut of things, and sometimes some of these high-sounding programs are used to the advantage of the Chinese. So, the American business community, we need their understanding of the nature of the problem right now.
So what about the Huawei threat? We know that there are backdoors in some cases where data in the Huawei infrastructure goes back to the Chinese Communist Party. We've talked about that a lot. Is that true?
Yes.
Would the U.S. consider acquiring?
I would say there's certainly the capacity to do that and a very high risk of that.
Would the U.S. consider acquiring Ericsson and Nokia? To send a message to the world that if you use Ericsson and Nokia, you've got the backing of the United States government as an alternative to Huawei.
So, I gave a speech a while back saying that it was that the two companies best positioned to compete with Huawei are Ericsson and Nokia. But unlike Huawei, Huawei has the backing of the Chinese government and all the Chinese government money. So just to give you an example, for 5G network facilities, the total global addressable market is probably around 90 billion, and the Chinese government has set up a fund of over 100 billion to subsidize it. So they can go to countries and say, hey, we'll put this in cash free, very cheap money. That's what we're competing against with Huawei, and companies like Ericsson and Nokia are the strongest Western competitors in this sector. And I gave a speech saying that ultimately the West has to rally around these companies, whether that means private ownership or state involvement.
So you would be okay taking a stake, even if it's a minority stake, in these companies to offset the threat of Huawei then?
That's not a decision for the Justice Department. I do think that the West has to pick a horse or horses.
Is China using this COVID-19 pandemic to gain leverage and gain territory? We know that the CCP is overreaching in Hong Kong and militarizing the South China Sea.
I'm concerned that they might think that we are sufficiently distracted by COVID that we won't be able to respond, and I am concerned that they may think the current environment is one in which they can push the envelope somewhat and take advantage of it.
What's most